we can deal with the onboard a little bit later. So, welcome everyone. Come on in. Oh, Daniel, good. Please grab a spot. Excellent. Taven with Taven. We've got the nucleus filling up. The protons and neutrons are beginning to populate this nucleus, and we are ready to get going. So, this is our 9th class of the winter 2026 semester, and we are moving towards your second assignment, which I'm going to talk about shortly. That's due Thursday, April the 2nd. Okay, we'll get that up on the board shortly. And then the final assignment, which is the big one, and we touched on that last week, that's going to be due Thursday, April the 23rd. Okay, so dates are now being set, and I want to make sure that you're all ready for doing some work that you are proud of. And so, what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about New Worlds in terms of beginning to explain to you in a very, very brief lecture what we mean by space, like what is out there, a kind of a basic astronomy or cosmology lesson to help you to understand the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, and kind of get that sense of the totality, a kind of, astronomy 101, if you will, just to refamiliarize you with this whole idea of what is out there in space. I was planning on doing a much more detailed lecture, and I'm not going to be able to do that today because I'm just not ready, but I want to show you something that is part of my reason for that, is that there are two books that I'm very interested in presenting to you in more detail, okay? And one of them you've already seen, which is Carl Sagan's Cosmos, or Pale Blue Dot, I should say. I'm thinking Cosmos. And I've touched on him before. And then there's another book called A City on Mars. Now, the reason I just want to show you these two books and explain something is that Carl Sagan, who is one of the great popularizers of science and inspired Neil deGrasse Tyson very much in terms of his original Cosmos series, is a real champion of going into space. This couple, who's just written a book called City on Mars that I'm just starting to read, takes the opposite view, which is, hold on, we should deal with things down here. There's way too much hype around space exploration. What I want to do is make sure that I can condense those arguments a little more clearly so that when I do the lecture on what's out there, I can really help you to drill down a little bit more on where everything began when we talked about New Worlds. In the first New World section, where we had that little debate, if you will, about should we or shouldn't we go? And that led us to a really good insight from Georgia around, well, let's go inwards and really explore that. And so I just want to make sure I can present those arguments a little more clearly to you by two excellent scholars and thinkers in these two books. One who's very famous, advocating space exploration at all costs, get out there. Another, a couple that's just written this book called The City on Mars, in which they say a lot of it is just hype. And it's actually harder and more dangerous and more time consuming and costly than you think. And humanity's really not that ready for it. And the reason that there's so much hype and gung-ho-ness around space exploration is in part because of the billionaire entrepreneurs like Elon Musk right now who are pushing that view. But when you really look at it, space exploration actually is a lot more costly. So those are the two views that we've kind of been exploring a little bit since the beginning. New Worlds has also consisted of last week's class, which was a moment when we could really go inward, and in which we looked at this question of mortality and death. And I was able to explore with you just a little bit an event in my life in which my mother passed away. And there was some very good discussion posts and a good discussion that we had as well around this idea of the meaning of death, the meaning of mortality, and what this means for our future, and what this says about life. And so I want to touch on that as well in the review by reading out loud one or two of the discussion posts from last week. Um, and also, I'd like to take some time today to really look at some well-written first assignments and go through those so you can get ready for a great second assignment. In other words, I'd like to give some direct feedback to all of you about good work and not so good work and give you the chance to see what people are writing. I've removed the names from these first assignments. They're good examples. The students whose work I'm going to read um, are should be proud of what they've done. I would never show work that's not good. This is good, but still, I've removed the names in case the student or the students are a little bit shy and they don't want to take credit for their great work and be the center of attention. So I want to explore that with you, and then the third thing I want to do today, after we've done that, the review, is just talk a little bit about and introduce you to this idea of exactly what is space. What are we talking about? That sort of astronomy, cosmology 101. And then I'm going to continue that next class as well, because there is a fact that I did mention to you when we started debating this, which is wherever you stand on the question of should we go or shouldn't we go, how much should we go or not, the question is, we're kind of going. You know, there's a real momentum now to get off the planet and get to the moon, get to Mars, and get to other planets in our solar system. So I think it's really important that you understand the lay of the land a little bit more about, well, what is out there? And so I'm going to touch on that in the lecture, but not a full lecture. And then finally, I want to do something with all of you that I think is really important in terms of new worlds. And it's something that I wasn't planning on touching on today, but I'd like to, which is in all of my classes. Oh, just a sec. I see something. Hold on. Did you like my book? Okay, good. So that's just a comment. Everybody can hear me. In all of my classes in this room, whether it's short history of the world, global leader, or humanity's destiny, there's a kind of a driving mission that I have to help all of you right now become what I call masters of complexity, or to introduce you to this idea of how to become a master of complexity. And the reason I say that is probably obvious to a lot of you. I won't go into it right now. Um, I will save it for later, but I'd like you to start thinking about something because we're going to come to this later in the class today. I'd like you to start thinking about this idea of what has been the most complex challenge you have ever faced in your life? The most complex challenge. How did you deal with it? And the definition of complexity that I'd like you to work with is when we talk about what is complexity, it is multiple moving parts. It goes without saying, and I will talk more about this later. If humanity, in all its meaning, mankind, humankind, humanity is in the bond between us, humanity is in benevolence or kindness, has any real hope, it will mean that we humans have to be very smart right now. We are in a highly, highly complex, interconnected, global, in some ways increasingly violent world. I might even say there's a form of brutalization now that's taking place. If you go on social media or elsewhere, where the depths to which people will go and the things they will say and the amount of bombs that can be dropped, as if we're living in a video game now of warfare, is extremely brutal. And we need to understand how to deal with the complexity of this. And so I would like to know how you dealt in your life with a complex challenge. Did you get overwhelmed? Did you retreat? Did you lash out at somebody for the problems that were created? Did you face it and try to resolve it? I'd really like to know what those complex challenges are, because our destiny is going to rest on what happens in your brains, our brains. And that's going to rest on how we solve problems, complex, very, very difficult problems. Okay, so I'm going to touch on that a little bit too. Other than that, I would like to make sure we have a scribe and get going on the smartboard, because we're going to have lots of stuff to do. And I'm also going to have a few things to talk about that are coming. So who's up to Trinity has been doing a pretty good job, but her hand might be a little sore from writing. It's not that bad. Do you like the writing? So can I count on? Yeah, excellent. Okay, good. So please go ahead to the board, and here's the challenge for you. Your first complex challenge. Okay, when you get to the board, you have to do the onboard, which means you have to look out and write down the names of all the people that are in here without asking them. But we'll help you. Okay, we'll help you. We did that in another class. Let's see. Okay, so let's go to Trinity for a little close up and see if this is working here. Okay, hold on. There you are, Trinity, but the smartboard is facing the wrong way. Can you move it a little bit so it's facing that camera, the black camera over there? And I'll bring this down so there's no glare, but I won't bring it down all the way. Okay, so this is my little complex challenge, is making all of this work. So just go ahead and start writing down any names that come to mind that you see in front of you, and it can just be first names, okay? And I'll keep the number 9. That's I don't want to say his name. I'm just trying to think about it. Okay, hold on. So this gentleman wants to be number 9. Must be some important number, since he has an interest in the occult, if I recall. Yes, and I'm trying to learn a bit more about that myself. So let's see who's on board. And everybody in the cosmos, please start putting your full names in the live chat so I can track this. There's Carol. Okay, Carol's there. There's Working Tech, which is in attendance, and there's me. So, and you can put your name first if you would like, okay? So let's see what happens with Trinity and this challenge while I do a little troubleshoot here. Good, the audio is going to work just fine. Thank you, everyone in the cosmos. Trinity. So let's see. I can impress you with my memory, my little RAM memory right now, that I've got all the names straight for a change, I think. But Brandon, Brandon. We'll just put Brandon. Okay, keep it simple. Won't take you long to write. And then there is Daniel. And then there is Dimitri. And then there is Elizabeth. Okay. Yeah, it's a workout. You can look at these books, by the way. It's a great book if you want. I know both of you guys like to read. Well, Georgia for sure. I can tell that. And now I've got your name straight, Sari. I was looking in, right? That's good. Okay, it's and Zed. So Elizabeth, no. 9. Are we at 9 yet? Yeah, Ron. Okay, Ron. Okay. Good. Taven, is it Tavin? Ian. Taven, Taven. Okay. Great. Georgia. Yeah, this is like an episode of Big Brother. Got all the names. Here they are. The stars: Georgia, Sari, and Zed. Sari. S-A-R-I? Correct? Yeah, I had to check this finally. I thought today I'm not going to walk into this class and be able to say George's name, but not Sari's. So, wouldn't be fair. 13? Nobody. Oh, Zed? Zed. Z-E-D. Okay. I think 13 is actually, as we say, unlucky, but I think it's a courageous thing to put your name there. It's saying, I don't care. I'm not superstitious. I will walk under a ladder. Who cares? Okay. Great. Okay. So we have our scribe. Now, I would like to make our first card that's really important, just about what's ahead in terms of the assignment. So do you want to just move the card and go? So this is our PowerPoint slide number 2, if we were doing it the old way. Ahead. Assignment 2 and assignment 3. Assignment 2 and assignment 3. Okay? Assignment 2, yeah, could you just write down assignment 2, due Thursday, April the 2nd. And assignment 3 is due Thursday, April the 23rd. And there are assignments, instructions and sheets being posted in the next days. And that's essentially all that we need to write now, unless anybody would like to address something about these 2 assignments. You will find you will learn more about them through today's class and the next classes, and there will be assignment instructions. But does anybody have a particular question or anything they would like to address about these 2 assignments? Trinity? 3, Thursday, April the 23rd. And I would add one thing. Wednesday, April the 22nd is our final class. I'm leaving that open in case anyone would like to do a presentation to all of the students for that. That will be one of your options. Okay, so we'll talk about that as we get closer. Okay, great. So while we're on the board right now and on sort of looking ahead, I would like to talk about a little bit of feedback for you around the discussion posts and the first assignment. And I would like to bring something up right now for you to look at. And that is a discussion post that was written by none other than Emily Lee, who is a person that hasn't appeared in person. I think we've seen her face once or twice, but boy, does she write and think deeply about the stuff we're doing in this class. And actually, Emily not only wrote something really interesting, she inspired a comment. I've noticed Elizabeth from time to time will jump on and start talking about other people's posts, which is great. And it would be terrific if we saw more students doing that, but that's okay. You don't have to. Emily, would you be able to unmute yourself right now and stay unmuted, or are you not quite in position to do that? Let's see where Emily is. She may be walking her pet possum right now. Sorry, my imagination is running away from me. I just made the wrong connection. I had an encounter with a possum on my front porch. Emily didn't, but okay. Well, I'd like to read something to you. And the reason is that it's really important that we celebrate and understand how to do some really good writing. And I'm thrilled because more and more I face a battle in my classes with AI where I'm not sure what's going on with the student. And it's a very difficult time to be an educator. But I'm not seeing that in this class very much, certainly not among the in-person students. But, you know, there are students in the distant solar system of our class, the asynchronous students, who are clearly handing in things that are so well written, flawlessly written, but kind of bland and generic and not really dealing with the course content. So it's quite easy for me to say, well, you didn't write this, but clearly Emily wrote this. Georgia's writing her own stuff. Elizabeth, Daniel, Taven, Zed, and others. I can see when they are because they're motivated. So listen to what Emily said about last week in terms of this whole question. And this is just a review, okay, from last week. The question we asked last week was why die? And I think that the answers that this has brought from some of you are really interesting and insightful, but this is detailed too. Listen to this. Have any of you read this, by the way? Elizabeth has, because she commented on it. Dimitri, probably not. Okay, so Daniel? Okay, so I'm gonna read this. Georgia, you read it? Great. Okay. So Emily, you can hear, right? I'm going to read this out loud myself. And if there's anything you want to say as I'm reading, just put it in the live chat, okay? And we can take it up. So, what does death mean? While we all know death is an inevitable part of life, it remains a source of fear and confusion. The living cannot experience the world of the dead, and we are often reluctant to accept that our loved ones and those we care about may leave us forever. This is what we understand as physical death. However, religious perspectives often distinguish between physical and spiritual death, suggesting an alternative form of immortality. I think Ryan's going to like this because he is so interested in this question of kind of the energy in life, not necessarily the corporeal or physical thing. And it's a very interesting way of thinking, trying to understand this bigger idea of what's happening to energy. Yes, death represents loneliness, sorrow, and darkness, but what would the earth be like if life were endless? First, extreme resource scarcity. With a continuously growing population, the demand for housing, food, and energy would surge, rapidly depleting natural resources and potentially rendering the earth uninhabitable. I'm getting concrete here. I like this. She's really thinking of the reality of this. Second, severe aging and social stagnation. The elderly might occupy the vast majority of resources and positions, severely limiting opportunities for advancement for the younger generation. Society might become increasingly conservative, and innovation and change might gradually stagnate. Emily, I just want to contradict you for a moment, okay? I am an older person. I am 63 years old. I am finding I'm becoming less conservative and more progressive as I get older. So what do you think about that, Emily? I'd like you to just think about that idea that becoming older means you get more conservative. Geez, not so sure. Taven, go ahead, okay? Take the mic, I'll give you a microphone. Taven, take the microphone. Yeah, go ahead, yeah, and then we're gonna continue, okay? You can comment on this. Yes. Turn it on? Yep, yeah. Is it on?
It's on now.
Yeah, go ahead. And like karaoke, right? Close to your mouth.
Yeah. I would argue that maybe she meant pragmatically conservative, as in we're gonna have to ask some really tough questions, answer some really tough questions, and maybe put empathy aside because with an overpopulation, dwindling resources, really hard questions are going to be asked. Like she said, birth restrictions over there. Like if you take, for example, one-child policy, China, a lot of really difficult decisions had to be made on a family-to-family level.
Yes.
And it was really, really ugly because they had an overpopulation problem and a scarce amount of resources to go around for everyone. So, and also I would argue, the longer you live, the more trauma you might experience, maybe not in the way of death. I believe you have an emotional punch card, and once you punch it, you sort of
This is an interesting idea. Could we get this on the board? Taven is just, what is an emotional punch card? Now that is an invention that's just come out of Taven's. This is good. What's an emotional punch card?
if you take, for example, I think the best example throughout history is the silent generation. They fought in World War I and World War II, and they came back, and they were very emotionally repressed. They really didn't express their emotions very much because they'd seen all of this horrible stuff, done all of this horrible stuff, had to make these horrible choices.
Sure. Okay. That's what war can do to you.
Exactly.
War, definitely.
And obviously, we're not talking about war here, but I think it applies broadly in the sense of just having to see so much bad stuff will drain you emotionally.
Ooh. Okay, let's leave it at that. Okay, Taven, thanks a lot. Seeing a lot of bad stuff. If a human sees a lot of bad stuff, traumas happen. We talk about post-traumatic stress today, but well, I just had a terrible thing happen over the midterm break, and well, I've had a lot of terrible things happen. If I went into some detail about my life, and boy, it seems to have only made me want to love life more. However, this is a contradictory, challenging position. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I just want to make sure that we read this, Taven, and then we'll come back, okay? So third, birth restrictions. If death ceases to exist, governments may eventually have to ban reproduction to alleviate pressure on the earth, thus ending human reproduction. Furthermore, psychological and health crises. People may experience extreme mental exhaustion or emotional breakdown due to the endless accumulation of memories. Moreover, immortality does not mean immunity to illness. Chronic diseases and prolonged suffering may become the norm. Finally, ecological collapse. Unrestricted population growth and the continued destruction of wildlife habitats could ultimately lead to the collapse of ecosystems and the paralysis of nature. There's some deep, big humanity thinking going on in Emily Lee's head. Way to go, Emily. In short, and here it is, immortality is not a blessing for humanity. Therefore, I prefer to believe that a creator has a purpose in the cycle of life and death. I believe that life and death are not opposites, but closely intertwined. Death is not the end of life. It is part of the process by which life continues, renews itself, and is giving meaning. At the same time, this does not mean that discussing death is meaningless. In high school, a classmate once said, "Live well, because you'll be long, long after you die." It sounds like a joke, but I think it contains a deep truth. Because life is limited, it becomes precious. Because our time is short, love matters more. Freedom matters more. Dignity matters more. Perhaps this is what death truly teaches us, not only the end of life, but also the true meaning of life. Well, Elizabeth chimed in. Let's see what she said. And perhaps Georgia could have, she read this, but others might have, but Elizabeth wrote something. But if we were immortal, what need would there be to eat and drink, to procreate? What's to stop us from venturing into the far reaches of space and populating other planets if we knew we could survive any trip for any length of time? That's an interesting thought. If we're going to be immortal, that means we can endure anything and we can see it all. Get out there and maybe we can even start running at the speed of light and get really far on our feet. Maybe we can fly at the speed of light. Maybe there's something faster than the speed of light. We don't know it yet, and that is something we could endure. So I'd like to conclude this whole part on the meaning of death and what it says for our future, but Does anybody have any thoughts on this before we start to get going on the bigger activity today? And we'll get into groups and do it. Any thoughts on what Emily has just said? Any counterpoints to this? Taven, do you agree with her idea that we need death in order to live well here, or not? Dimitri? You couldn't agree more? Let's give Dimitri the microphone just to hear another voice. And why? Because I know you always have something interesting to add. And so you couldn't agree more?
Yeah, I would make all the same points, kind of. That's
So how long should we live for? When should we stop this idea? When should we put a limit on how
Well,
long we should live?
a
And
lot-
say any more research is a waste of time. Humans should not be living longer than what?
So to kind of maybe simplify it a little bit, life could be understood as a balance of pleasure and pain.
Yes.
So we all have pleasure and pain. So when there is more pain than pleasure, maybe it's don't need to continue anymore. Death is the end of pain. In that,
We don't know that for certain because according to some religions, if you don't do well here and perform according to the dogma of that faith, you're going to a very dark and fiery and ugly place to suffer eternally, eternal pain.
but who knows what are the right steps to take to get to the right place?
This is true. So what age should we say? When should we say enough of this research to try and live to 150, 200? It's a waste of time. What limit should we put on how long we should live? What age? It's not an easy question to answer. You want to try, Ron? Go ahead. And what would be a limit? And then Zed. We'll come to Zed and then we'll move on, okay?
I think that in entertaining a limit around these sorts of things, you're asking the wrong question. I don't believe that we should confine ourselves to a limit, but rather just accept that people die.
But they can live as long as they like? Or should we somehow say that there's really a point where the research has to stop? We shouldn't be trying to extend it longer than a certain age because this is not good for humans as a whole. This is not good for civilization on Earth when we have people living routinely to 150.
See, Lon, 50 years ago, it would have honestly been rather preposterous to ask a question, should we keep researching extending people's lifespans? But I believe now we've reached a point where entertaining all that, in my personal opinion, serves no real use towards the benefit of humanity.
Entertaining what?
The idea of should we keep prolonging life through all this research that we're investing our time in.
It's a waste, kind of a waste of time.
And also,
Okay.
more on my point about asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
We should think of ways to improve life for everyone rather than simply wondering how we could extend life.
Exactly. I think that's it. That point has been made in a previous class. I can't remember by who, but about well-being. Let's work on improving the well-being of all humans on Earth while they're alive for their brief period. So that every day, quality of life, quality, not quantity, quality is always. Okay. Is there anything in the cosmos? Emily, anything you would like to say in the live chat or on your microphone before we move on? And I'm going to actually start with the activity shortly around complexity. And we'll come back to some of the assignments later. Anything there, Emily, that you want to put in? Great. Okay. Thank you for that thoughtful discussion post. And I have a couple of assignments that I wanted to also read out loud, but I'm going to wait until a little later because I'd like to get things moving and get people moving around. Okay. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like all of you to stand up. And we're going to do the same activity we did in class 1, which was the speed meeting one where we're going to move down lines together, but it's going to be different content. Okay. So I'll give you that. And we will, yeah, you go ahead and I'll come to you in a second. Okay. So here's what I'd like to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Excellent. 4 here and 4 facing them. Okay. So we'll have Dimitri, Daniel, Ron, and Zed, and facing Trinity, Sari, Georgia, and also Carol. You can take part. Absolutely. You can be moving with Taven. So you're going to be one. Okay. You guys are joined together, and that's how we'll do it. And in order to avoid a train wreck like we had in the first class, well, first we're good. We don't have so many people. So it's what happens at the end. Just everybody here take a step to the left, come around, okay? Excellent. Okay. Here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to tell the other person here what is the most complex challenge you have ever faced. And I'd like you to listen. I'm going to give you more time to talk to each other than the last time we did this activity. You might have a few questions, and then you tell Trinity the same. You're going to have a chance to talk to everybody, and then at the end, we're going to take this up, and we're going to try and understand something about whether you met the challenge well. And please try and come up with an example that is meaningful, something in your life, or it could be something you're experiencing now, but it has to be complex. You have to be juggling multiple moving parts in order for this thing to go well. You're almost like an astronaut in a spacecraft who's got all these different things that he has to manage in order for that spacecraft to move well through space. Okay, fair enough? Clear? Okay, go for it, all right? And I will check in with you soon. Good, okay, I'll be with Brandon in a second. Now, for those of you in the Cosmos, I'm going to go over to the smartboard, and I'm going to talk to you from there, okay? So there's the smartboard, and I'm going to show up over there momentarily. And if you want to participate, you can move around if you want with them. To you. You're okay? Yeah? Okay. I'll come back in a second. Were you able to write that thing? Those 500 words? Remember? From last week? 500 words? We'll talk, okay? That's okay. I'll come back in a second, okay? I am going over now to the smartboard. And you should all be able to hear me. Good, and we have Trinity's good notes. So, the Cosmos. The Cosmos. I'm going to write this down for you, okay? I want you all to be thinking about this right now. And I'll put it in the live chat too. What is the most complex challenge you have ever faced? Ever faced? How did you deal with it? Now, okay, so for everyone in the Cosmos right now, I want you to be thinking, what is the most complex challenge you have ever faced, and how did you deal with it? And my definition of complex is multiple moving parts. How were you dealing with that and getting the right balance? Did you fail? Did you succeed? So I'm going to leave that there for now, and I'm going to come back over here. The Cosmos, what is the most complex challenge? And
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, just a second.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to give them a little more time. All right. Now, let me see who is. I see Angelique has put into the live chat a complex situation, time, effort, money, housing. But I'm so what is, Angelique, what is the complex situation exactly that you're talking about there? Can you give it a title?
Well,
Give a
I'm
title to that
actually
complex situation. What is it?
a title.
Emily,
Actually,
Fatima, Harshika, Jackson, Jordan, and Rajdeep. Are you all clear on the instructions? Do you understand what I'm asking you to think about? Excellent. So what I'd like you to do is, once you're ready to start describing what it is, put that into the live chat, okay? And be ready as well to read from that during the actual take-up of the class. What is the most complex? And I'll write this here for you all, just to make sure. What is the most complex situation you have ever faced in your life? Okay. How did you deal with it?
Mhm.
Complex equals multiple moving parts. I am asking you to think like an astronaut who has to deal with massive complexity. That's what I'm asking you to do. Okay, switch. You want a little more? No, keep switching. Yeah, we're going to keep this moving. Okay, so Zed goes to the left. Dimitri, nice. Trinity comes around. Beautiful. Carol's with Taven. Yep. Okay, so it should be next. You got a new person. Okay, Trinity and Sari, good. Zed and Georgia. Dimitri and Taven. And Carol, Daniel and Ron. Keep it going, folks. Nice. Okay, way to go. What is the most complex situation? And I'm going to just write something here again. And that is complexity equals being multiple moving parts. Multiple moving parts. And I'm just going to make another note here. To be ready for the future. We all must face the complexity of civilization today. To be ready for the future, we all must face the complexity of civilization today. We need to become masters of complexity. Okay, this is the idea that I am trying to help you with around our future. And let's see. Good. So we have our cosmos working. Nice, Harshika. The most complex situation I ever faced is when you can. Good. Yep. Language. You know, Emily, you're putting your finger on what is perhaps one, or maybe among the top 2 or 3 greatest challenges for humanity today, and that is migration. Human beings moving around a lot from country to country, and how they deal with this change, constant change. Emily, I'd like you to give some thought to the idea of, do you feel that you are successfully managing this complexity? Or are you having trouble with it? Great. How are we doing? Okay, we'll keep it going. Okay. Yes.
About trying to have it later.
Okay. No rush. Okay. I'd just like you to think about.
I just got a bit depressed over the last couple days.
Yes.
On Friday, when I left here with snow,
Yeah. Yeah.
I decided to try midlife to go and get groceries.
To go and get what?
Go and get groceries.
Yes. Go and get groceries. Yeah.
Because I had nothing else. If they stay together, those eggs, then I'll be okay for a couple days.
Yes. Yes.
So then I went out the north doors and I'm looking at the visibility.
Yeah. The visibility of it.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna try and go to a fresh road. A couple blocks up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I just went over to Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yep.
Yes, it's expensive at highway robbery, but it's there.
There's some food. They do have food section
Yeah.
there. Yeah. They have the food section.
Yep. So I went there and got bags, butter tarts. I'm like,
Oh, hold on. Switch, please. Yes, switch. 2 more people you're going to talk to, okay? Good. So, Sari and, yeah. Oh, Georgia, they know each other. Trinity and Taven and Carol. Good. Zed, you're with Ron, I think. And then Dimitri is with Daniel, right? Okay. Okay, well, make sure you're with the new person, okay? That's what's critical. Just a second. Are we getting train wreck? Yeah. Taven and Carol are together. Yeah, they're going together, okay? Keep it even. Good. You guys know each other. You just have to know each other a little more. Okay. Good. Okay. So, most complex challenge. Does she know yet? Okay. Do you know hers? Okay. Let's talk. Good. Okay. Let me check in with Emily. Good, Emily. So here's what, Emily, I want you to do, like everybody else in the cosmos, is Emily, I want you to break down this complexity into its moving parts. What are the dimensions of this complexity? When you talk about the language learning, for example, or coming from Macau, just near Hong Kong, I know that area a little bit. My wife is from Hong Kong, and I've spent quite a bit of time in Hong Kong, and I know Macau a little bit. But I want you to tell me specifically what were the various little challenges in this big challenge. These are the multiple moving parts. I want to know what specifically you were dealing with, and just list that out as the multiple moving parts of your complex challenge. Does that make sense, Emily? Yeah, so go ahead and let me just look and see what you've. I immigrated to Canada from China. Language was my biggest challenge, although I completed my MBA. So I would say that your great challenge, Emily, is immigration. And one of the important parts of that challenge has been learning the language. What else? What are some of the other parts of this? That's where we're going to see these moving parts as I define them. Break it down for me in the live chat. And the same with everyone else. Rajdeep, Jordan, Jackson, break it down when you define your challenge. Multiple moving parts. Okay, Brandon, hold on a sec, okay? I want to deal with this and I'll come back to you. And let me just see what we have here in terms of, yeah, we'll get the map back. We're going to get the map back. Yeah. Good. Okay, we're going to take another 5 minutes. I see Fatima. Fatima, break it down too, okay? You can put this into the live chat as well. Break down that challenge into its parts and list those parts out in the live chat. And the same with Harshika, the best you can. Because what we're going to see is when you break it down into its parts, you can see how we're going to divide and conquer. That when you can divide and conquer each part, you can start to manage this complexity. But okay, final switch. Final switch. Okay, so take a step to the left. Sari's going to be with Carol, and let's see. I think, yeah. Oh, no, Georgia will be with Carol and Taven. Sari with Ron. Trinity with Daniel. Zed with Dimitri. You got it. There we go. Final one. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to check and see over here on the board, everyone. To be ready for the future, we all must face the complexity of civilization today. We need to become masters of complexity. And we'll be back to Trinity's better handwriting shortly. Good. Okay. So we'll let Trinity continue in a moment. I'm just setting her up for lawns, notes, stop here. Trinity's, oopsie daisy, and just getting Trinity's notes now. Continue. Thank you, Trinity. For your well written notes. Okay, there we go. Okay. Very good. Your battery is dying. Am I charging? Sounds like you have a complex challenge, Angelique. Yep. How are you going to deal with it? There we go. Angelique has suddenly entered a moment of tech stress. Look at Jordan. Nice. This just came in hot off the press from Jordan. Way to go. Nice. Yeah. What am I? A couple of you had an existential crisis. Great, Jordan. I was just trying to think about what am I doing at that time. I had a menial job with no real. Thought this looks good. Excellent, Jordan. We're going to get to it. Okay. I can see you've put some thought into it. Looks well written. So be prepared as always to read out loud from this. And 2 more minutes, folks. 2 more minutes. Sorry to shout on my microphone, Cosmos. I hope it wasn't too loud. But let's see. The International Space Station is still frozen. I think it's a transmission from there. I'm going to try and refresh again here on the big board, but it's the transmission. Yeah, it's going to freeze up, right? Yeah, okay. Well, we'll just leave it for now and not worry about it. Okay, what are we doing here? Yep. "60 seconds. 60 seconds until the end of our activity. And let's see. Where were we? Oh, yeah. We'll go over here. Yeah. There we are. How about the world? Good. I'd like to get the planet back, but where is the planet today? Planet Earth. Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about that too much. How are we doing on YouTube? 30 seconds. Okay, YouTube is looking clean. We're flying now and everything is smooth. Tech is working. Thank you, working tech. And I suppose I could do that. What's that? Ooh, no, not that. Not that. That was, what's that screenshot? Oh, yeah. I'm going to put this up for everybody. That's a great image. 1969. Okay. There we are. I'll never forget that. Yep. Okay, everybody, please make your way back to your seats. Trinity, please make your way back to the smartboard. There's a little note for you there. And Trinity's good notes. And for a little bit of inspiration, I've just grabbed a nice photo. Does anybody know what that photo is of? It's a historical picture of a moment in human history that is, what's that? Yes, and what's, see if he remembers. No, you weren't alive. Yeah, look at that. 1969, August of 1969, you know, summer of 1969. I remember this. We're all looking up, you know, but I was actually on a little dock at a friend of my mother's, one of her, I think, boyfriends. She liked to have boyfriends. It's good. My father died when I was very young, as I've told you. So my mother had to bring us up, and she had to have a life of love and sex too, although I would never really want to entertain the thought of my mother doing things like that. But she had to have, otherwise I wouldn't be here. So 1969, I know I was standing on a dock around Muskoka looking up at this with hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world going, yep, they're up there. They're coming down onto the moon right now. Talk about complexity. Imagine the technological complexity of leaving the planet and getting to the moon and beyond. So this is all part of our lives now, complexity in so many ways. So who's ready to come up here and tell us about a complex challenge? Take the microphone, stand with me, and we're going to explore it together, make some notes, and see where we go with this in terms of understanding what do we need to know? How should we manage complexity in our lives when it's going to be maybe the most important force in our lives going forwards? Who's ready to, before I, Brandon? Okay, let's give Brandon the microphone. He's been thinking, all right? complexity. And Carol, do you want to give him the mic? And can you hold it? You can hold it, right? So here comes Brandon's complex challenge. And this should be, whew, you have challenges. But what's the most complex? Not the most difficult necessarily, the most complex. Go ahead. Yeah.
Most complex challenge of my life for me was when I was 12 years old. I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed at 12 years old with Friedreich's ataxia, which is a form of muscular dystrophy.
Oh, wow. At 12 years old, you got this
They
diagnosis.
told me I would be in a wheelchair within 6 months. It took 6 years to get me in a wheelchair.
What were the three greatest challenges, the parts of this complex challenge? Like, list them out. Start to list. What were you dealing with in terms of daily challenges?
All my muscles and my body were tightening up and knotting up and feeling like they were going to rip.
So you had a medical issue.
Yep.
Okay, this is important to broaden this out so you understand we're not just talking about his particular situation, but we're talking about general problems that people have when they're dealing with complexity. Your well-being, your physical and emotional well-being, and okay, what else besides that?
My second challenge would have to be my education. Through high
Education.
school, they told me, my doctors told me, I would never graduate high school.
Okay, well now we're going to
And I would be dead by
Yes.
the time I'm 16.
Education. Where do I go? What's the best place for my education? Don't tell me you haven't addressed that question yourselves in terms of your choice of Durham College, another place. Do I stay in college? Do I go to the university? Do I move? Do I say? So this is all about this particular challenge. He was given a diagnosis of something. His life, if I'm wrong, you tell me, has changed suddenly. This is the world we do live in today. The weather. 2 days ago, it was 20 degrees. Today, it was snowing. Upheaval. Dramatic change. Whiplash. I'm here, I'm there. It's like, what do I do? Things are changing. So education was one thing you had to answer and deal with, where your well-being. What is the third thing? Money? Was money an issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very poor, very poverty-stricken area. And I desired to try and get out, but I've not made it out yet.
You got a nice haircut. Looks like. Got your hair cut a little bit?
Shaved my beard.
Shave your beard, yeah. Okay. So having a good haircut, that's part of the challenge, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to stop. Brandon, thank you for that, okay? We're listing out parts, moving parts, as we will see. Money changes, well-being changes, the education. There might be a strike at the university or college. Now I can't go to that place. Where am I going to go? You're constantly having to shift around. Who's next? Hold on. Who's next? Anybody online want to jump on their microphone and tell us what they wrote in the live chat? Let's see. If not, we'll keep it going in the nucleus. and I can read things out loud? Okay. Well, I see 3 here, and I see 1 here. And I
Can you
know
hear
they
me?
all are just dying to take a microphone and tell us things. Okay, thanks, Carol. Who just said something online?
Oh, it was me. I was just asking
Is
if
that
you could hear
Jordan?
me. Yep.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm going to turn up the audio here. Jordan, could you read out loud what you just wrote in the live chat about your complex challenge? Please go ahead.
Sure. So the most complex challenge I've faced in life probably had to do with my choice in figuring out what direction I go in. So a couple of years ago, I had a bit of an existential crisis. I had just turned 30 and I was really thinking about what I wanted to what I'm doing in life. At the time I had a menial job with no real opportunities for growth. So I just thought long and hard, decided this wasn't what I wanted. So there was a lot of moving parts. Like I knew I needed to go back to school, potentially needed a new job, one that could allow me to still go to school full time, but work as well. And I needed to move past a lot of bad habits. So through planning and visualizing my future, it gave me the energy and motivation to want to continue. I felt a little bit behind, but I kept saying to myself, better late than never. So I had to switch jobs to one that allowed me to work at night. So I'm currently a night auditor for a hotel, and
Yes.
then I applied for to DC. That same July, I got accepted, and my plan to both work full time and go to school full time. It's going pretty well outside of some sleep deprivation, but
Sure. Okay. Let's break this down. Okay. In the same way that Brandon was breaking it down for us in terms of the parts, you know, he was dealing with this sudden change. So I'm going to just move the camera over to Trinity. Okay. So you can see her clearly, and everyone can see what's happening up here in the little YouTube window. Okay. So that's what Jordan now sees. Jordan, could you tell Trinity what to write in terms of a list of the moving parts of your challenge? Go ahead.
well, to find a way to continue to find a way to like make money and live.
Money comes up all the time as one
Yeah,
critical moving part. Your bank account go up and down like this, right? Okay.
exactly.
So money. Okay, money.
And then I guess also just in the back of my head, I feel like I'm somewhat judged a little bit for being here a little bit older. So I don't know. That's like a self-conscious issue, I guess.
Well, confidence, self-confidence. This is emotional and psychological well-being. Thank you for telling us this.
Oh, no worries.
Money, mental health, they come up so much. Keep going. Other parts.
Yeah, I mean, and then also just having support from like family and friends that like this was the right thing to do. So telling them my plan and then getting their blessing, so to speak.
Yes. Okay, so approval from others, right? Approval from others?
Yeah.
Fair enough? Okay, we'll get Trinity's putting that there. Well, I want to remind all of you of something right now that is so critical to what I'm trying to help you to do to be a master of complexity. In this picture that I put up there, imagine what it would have been like to be one of the astronauts. Neil Armstrong, as we all know, the great astronaut who stepped out of the Apollo spacecraft onto the moon for the first time. But imagine going through that experience where you are leaving the Earth in this new machine. It could blow up, it could be damaged, you may never come back, you may die up there, you have to study single thing in that machine before you go up. You have to memorize the checklists of everything that you control in that machine. Chris Hadfield, one of our great astronauts, has spoken of when he was training at NASA before he went up to the space station. He talked about going into the simulated space station at NASA at night on his own to memorize the checklist. He had about 50 things, 60 things he had to memorize in order to get that spacecraft moving or the space station operating properly. What did it take, Jordan, for you to be able to not be overwhelmed by this complex challenge? Imagine that you are John Glenn or Neil Armstrong, and the challenge you had at that point is, in terms of the stress for you, was no less than what it would have been for a trained astronaut. You had many things that you were juggling, and you wanted to succeed. You didn't want to blow up. You didn't want to break down. So what did you do? How did you make sure that you landed and you got home safely? Is this making sense? Good. Jordan, how did you do that?
I think, focusing on my issues that maybe prevented me from doing stuff like this in the past. Like, I had focused more on my mental health and got a bit of counseling. That all, I think, helped me with persevering through the challenges and everything that I've been going through.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Support. You got support.
Yeah.
You know, astronauts, when they train with each other. They don't train alone. You're being supported by your other fellow astronauts or those who are part of your great challenge. In other words, if you want to succeed and balance these pressures, probably you have to say something like, maybe I need to reach out to other humans. Maybe I need to get some support to help me with this. I can't do this alone. No man is an island. No man is an island. So support is a critical part of it. Okay, Jordan, thank you for sharing this with us and for giving us some real things to think about, because this is where you can begin to understand how to become a master of complexity. A master of complexity. Your lives today, from the very moment you wake up, are a stressful juggling act of many different things that you're trying to make sure they go well. We have time for one more, okay? And then we're going to conclude today's class. We might stop a little bit early. I'd like to bring it back to the nucleus. So it's either Georgia, Sari, Zed, or Daniel. I would say you, Taven, but you've been great so far, okay? You've been contributing. I want to make sure the others can contribute. And so I know it can be a little stressful to come up and explain these things. Should we flip coins? I don't want to demand anything. I'm going to suggest something. Daniel has spoken before and spoken very well, and there was a class where you were really participating. So we can hang on for a second. Georgia has given some really good insight already about going inside. Zed has spoken. Sari was up a little bit, but I think Sari should try a little bit more. And let's see, since she is a training journalist, and she might end up being on television, she might end up being an influencer. I think it would be helpful for you to stand here and tell us. Okay? Is that okay? You don't have to stand, as long as we can hear you, okay? I just want to make sure you have some energy. Getting up and standing can give energy, but okay. Get yourself focused. Sari is going to tell us, and we'll help you, okay? Sari's most complex challenge. Let's hear it.
Mine was transitioning from another country and also moving to a new school
Huh?
twice.
Migration. Emily Lee's challenge. Probably Zed's challenge too. I wouldn't be surprised Dimitri might have a little bit of this. And what's that? Twice. Okay, so it is everybody today is going. As long as you have a little bit of money, you can start traveling and moving around. Okay, so Sari, where do you come from?
The Bahamas.
All right, it's not that far. Well, can you tell us why was this complex?
Because it kind of feels like you're starting over with a lot of things, like moving to a new school, having to make new friends, trying to find another place to live, like housings and stuff like that. Missing family and friends as well. It also brings like a lot of stress, and you kind of like feel stuck somehow, like you don't know like which way you want to go when you move, to be honest. It also brings like a lot of challenges with like languages sometimes. I mean, we both speak English, but like the accent could kind of make it hard
Yeah.
for people to understand what you're saying. So mainly those was like my main challenges moving from the Bahamas to here.
Yeah, the migration, the move from one country to another, and you've broken it down really well. Would you say that these things that you mentioned, the starting over, finding a place, missing family, stress, look at how great Trinity is on the notes. In real time, we can refer to this like this. Now, this is outstanding. Well, did it feel like a pile-on? Sometimes like a pile-on of things. Overwhelmed?
Yes, because before I moved, I was like doing really good in school, like keeping up with grades and I actually enjoyed going to school, to be honest, when I in the Bahamas, but coming here, because you kind of feel like you're by yourself in the school, and I was falling behind on schoolwork because sometimes like the teaching style is also different, so it's not always going to be the same, and mainly those like falling behind in school and not having the same friends, not having the same people you can
Yep.
rely on with help with assignments. I mean, you can always go to your teachers, but sometimes they don't really understand where you're coming from as well. So
It's a pile-on. Are you still being piled on, or would you say that these things are starting to be dealt with and you're feeling like you're getting a handle on this complex challenge?
because I've been here since 2018, I've improved a lot of how I deal with things, and I've learned a lot since I've been here. So, based on what I've learned, I'm learning how to deal with the challenges better, and I try to like look at it as a learning process instead of looking at it in like a bad way. Like, what can I learn from these challenges? So when I surpass them, I can look back at the challenges at like a great learning experience that helped me better myself today.
Way to go. These 8 years that you've just described, would you say that they've made Sari, the human, a kind of a better human?
I haven't reached my full potential on the better human I want to be, but definitely better than I was before I first came here.
And here's the final thing, Sari, which is really important. We've talked about this idea of the crossroads. I think it came from Jordan. It's an excellent thought. And we all understand that now. Some of you have written about it in your first assignment, which is great. When we talk about a crossroads, we talk about a world now where there are machines created by humans that are becoming more dominant. And it's raising questions about, well, do we want more machines or do we want more human? How are we going to balance these things, the human and the machine? We ask the question now, what does it mean to be human? To be human. When I say to you, Sari, do you feel like you're more of a human as a result of these 8 years, which you've been managing a very difficult, complex challenge. What does being human mean to you in terms of being a better human?
That you're giving a life to live, and a lot of choices that you make can determine where you might end up. Like you're giving a lot of choices, and you can choose the things you enjoy doing instead of having people make the choices for you.
Are you becoming freer?
When it comes to making my own choices, mostly.
We often say freedom is when you have lots of options. Fewer options, less freedom. More options, more freedom. But then you have to be thinking critically, which way do I go? But at least you're free to stand and say, oh, I can go there, I can go there, I can go there. And nobody has their thumb in my forehead telling me, stay there. So do you feel like you've created a world where you have more choices?
Yes.
Thank you for answering this in the way that you have. Excellent. Is there anything you want to add?
No.
Does anybody want to add anything to this discussion that we've had? I'm going to conclude. Some great notes from Trinity, contributions from Sari and everyone else about this idea. And this is where we began the class. I wanted to bring the class to this place where you could start to understand how to become a master of complexity. And if you do that and start to become a master of it, which Sari has begun to do, then you will be in a better place as a human being on earth. You will have more freedom. Well, I hope that you will think about this idea of how you can meet these complex challenges in your life going forwards, because I have some bad news, but some good news. The bad news is you're going to be facing them all the time. The good news is if you reflect on how you deal with them, as we have, you're going to deal with them better and better, and you're always going to be coming out on the brighter side when you solve these problems, because you will have been engaging in reflection and critical thinking, really thinking about, how did I deal with this? And I want to make sure next time I'm going to deal with it well again. I wish I could say that the complex challenges get easier. They're going to get even more complex. Wait till you have a family, if you do. Wait till you have other responsibilities that you're juggling. Wait till you have financial pressures that are really, really bearing down on you. Wait till there's death in your family or two. Wait till you have relationships, you know, however they are, that break up, and marriage that may not work out or whatever. You're going to have to juggle. You might have kids and all of these things, but each time you're going to face it because you knew you faced it before. Make sense? Okay, everybody. So I'm going to leave those first assignments to read out loud to another class. I really want to prepare a good lecture for you on just astronomy, cosmology 101. So we can take a little journey through the solar system, the Milky Way galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy, which is next door, and answer a big question, or at least approach it. Are we getting to a point now in space exploration research where we think we may find life beyond Earth? We're starting to ask this question in a much more serious way, and we've discovered, and I'll leave you with one critical fact. There are things called exoplanets that we have been discovering more. Exoplanets are planets outside of our solar system, extra planets outside of the solar system. These are planets orbiting around their stars the way we orbit around our sun. 50 years ago, we hadn't discovered any exoplanets. These are planets that have what we think are the same ingredients of life that Earth has. Today, as I speak, we've discovered 5,300 of them. In other words, we've discovered 5,300 other planets outside of our solar system that have what we believe are similar things to what Earth has and have pretty well the same distance that Earth has from the sun. The sun is a star. Planets go around their stars, their suns. 5,300, 5,300 other planets we've discovered. How many of them might even have something happening there? More than just water, little microbes, little things that are growing. Imagine if you were alive during the time when we humans made a major discovery in space, that there's something out there that has life and some kind of intelligence. Get ready. It'll be amazing. Anyways, I'm going to show you more of that next week, and so that you can understand a little bit of why people really want to get going with space exploration. Discussion post 9 is due for next week. Unless you have any questions in the live chat, anything you'd like to add, I'll let you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Jordan, Emily, Fatima, I'll be saving all of these for review, and see you in a week. Yes. 300? Yeah. We're still recording, by the way, so I'll leave it on. Yeah, go ahead. What is the closest one in light years? Well, we have I don't know the name, but the star is Proxima Centauri. Yeah, Proxima Centauri. So there's our star, which is the sun, and then we get into the next galaxy or the next solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy, and that is Proxima Centauri. But I don't know the name of the exoplanet that's near Proxima. Is it Centauri B? Something like that. Yes, Centauri A, Centauri C. Yeah, there's a few of them. Yeah. I think it's 4.5 or 5. I was going to do that with you today. We were going to write out how many kilometers is 4 light years. How many zeros, you know? We'll do that next week. We'll really get into the a long time. We don't have fast enough things. I know we're like so behind. But talk to Elon Musk, and he thinks we can do it faster. But okay. Anyways, get ready next week for a real explosive journey through space and some mind-blowing stuff about dark matter, dark energy, things we're discovering that are pretty weird. Okay. So very good. I'm going to save the live chat. You're welcome to hang out here, but I think there's another class coming in at 4. I'm not sure. And I will leave this on for the moment. I'm just going to save. So we're still rolling. We're still live and out in the live stream. There is. Good. I got to save that. Export as PDF. Go to there. So we're good with that. I'm going to stop the live stream.